Mumbai Marine Drive is one such city in the world that perhaps never sleeps. At night, it is often bustling with people, especially at Mumbai's Marine Drive, which is the heart of the city. In the darkness of the night, many people come here to enjoy the endless view of the sea. But one night, something happened at Marine Drive that made it the most terrifying night of Rohan's life. Rohan's office was near Marine Drive, and almost every evening after work, he would go for a walk there. For the past few days, the workload at his office had increased significantly, causing him to leave the office late at night. Yet, he would still go to Marine Drive, as it was a place where he could calm his mind. One night, it was 2 a.m. by the time he left the office, like every other night. He went to Marine Drive. But that night, there was a strange chill in the air. On cold nights at Marine Drive, many people would often sit there. But that night, Rohan was completely alone. He couldn't see anyone around. But he ignored it, put on his earphones, and started walking. He was enjoying the music, when suddenly, the sound in his earphones stopped. His phone had suddenly switched off, which seemed very strange to Rohan, because his phone had about 80% charge. He was trying to turn the phone on, when suddenly he heard someone crying. As he walked a bit further, he saw a girl sitting and crying. Seeing this, Rohan didn't know what came over him, but he went to her and asked why she was crying. The girl told him her name was Anjali, and the boy she loved and lived with had betrayed her. Listening to her story, Rohan sat down with her. He sat there with her for quite a while. And then suddenly, Rohan started having a severe headache. The pain was so intense that Rohan's entire face turned red, and before he knew it, he lost consciousness. When Rohan opened his eyes, it was morning, and he was lying on Marine Drive. There was no one around, not even Anjali. He couldn't understand anything, because the last thing he remembered was sitting and talking with Anjali at Marine Drive. The next night, Rohan. After work, Rohan went straight to Marine Drive and started looking for Anjali. After quite some time, around 3 a.m., he found Anjali sitting in a corner. When Rohan asked Anjali about the previous night, Anjali said that Rohan was very tired and fell asleep right there. Rohan also thought that maybe his Marine Drive had really caught fire. Rohan and Anjali started talking again, but after a while, Rohan began to have a headache and fainted again. When he woke up, he was lying on Marine Drive again. Rohan couldn't understand anything, but now only Anjali was on his mind. He had become infatuated with her, so infatuated that he would meet Anjali late at night at Marine Drive every day and faint while talking every morning. He would wake up lying on Marine Drive. Gradually, Rohan started becoming very weak, and his health was deteriorating. One night at the office, a friend of Rohan's saw his condition and asked if he was okay. Rohan told him about Anjali, but his friend said that he was also at Marine Drive the previous night and saw Rohan talking to himself. There was no girl around him. Rohan was a bit surprised to hear this from his friend. That night, Rohan was looking for Anjali at Marine Drive, but he couldn't find her anywhere. He started getting very anxious. His hands and feet began to tremble, and his whole body was drenched in sweat. Meeting Anjali had become like an addiction for him. Rohan climbed onto the boundary wall of Marine Drive to look for Anjali and started calling out to her. Suddenly, he felt as if a dark shadow emerged from the sea and passed through his body. But before Rohan could think of anything, he heard Anjali's voice calling him. When Rohan turned around, he found Anjali standing right there. Rohan sat down with Anjali again. Rohan was constantly bothered by what his office colleague had said. So he thought of taking a photo with Anjali. He took out his phone and started taking a photo with Anjali. As soon as he pressed the photo click button, Anjali angrily hit his phone and it fell far away. Rohan found this very strange, but Anjali told him that she didn't like getting her photo taken at all. When Rohan picked up his phone, he saw a blood photo in it. Anjali's hands looked strangely dark. Rohan didn't understand anything. Just then, Anjali called out to him again, and Rohan was now a bit startled. Rohan went to Anjali and asked her, "Anjali, we've been meeting for so long, but you never told me where you actually live." Anjali did not give any answer to that. She just fell silent and started crying again. And hearing her cries, Rohan's head began to ache intensely once more. Every time Rohan's head ached, he wouldn't remember anything afterward. But this time, as soon as Rohan started feeling dizzy, he took out his phone's camera and took a picture of Anjali. As soon as he took the picture, Anjali screamed loudly, but the sound didn't seem human. It felt like it was some terrifying creature. As soon as Rohan looked inside the phone, his heart sank. The girl sitting in the photo wasn't Anjali, but rather a very frightening witch whose entire body had turned black. Seeing this, the phone slipped from Rohan's hands, and he started running away from Marine Drive, screaming. After running some distance, when he looked back, Anjali's face had completely changed. She looked like a terrifying witch, and that witch slowly went into the sea and disappeared somewhere. Rohan couldn't believe his eyes. When he asked the nearby vendors, an old man told him that many years ago, a girl used to come and cry at Marine Drive every night. People said that her lover betrayed her and left her. And in this sorrow, one night she jumped into the water at Marine Drive and ended her life. The old vendor also mentioned that many boys have been seen talking to themselves at night, and several of them have drowned in the sea, losing their lives. Rohan felt that perhaps he too had come under the influence of that spirit and narrowly escaped with his life. After that night, Rohan never went to Marine Drive again. But to this day, Rohan dreams at night that Anjali is standing by the sea at Marine Drive, calling him to her.